All right, this next week is all about deliberate breathing. This is Nate Last with Mental Grit Consulting, and we're jumping straight in today with something that I personally think is one of the best facilitators of really changing emotion or of changing self-talk. Last week we did talk about the traffic light analogy, and the traffic light analogy as it pertains to the different types and categories of thoughts. Hopefully this last week you were able to develop a bit of an understanding of what's the helpful or facilitative self-talk that you're using, as well as the debilitative or unhelpful self-talk that you might be using, and how to kind of move from that unhelpful red space into a yellow neutral or technical self-talk space, or green or a really positive or helpful or facilitative self-talk space. So I hope you got a little bit more experience in that. This week is all about helping to facilitate that process utilizing your breath. We're talking about the deliberate breath, a breath on purpose. And this purposeful breath is really utilized in many different formats across the nation. This can be called the tactical breath in a military standpoint. This is the same type of breathing that they utilize within stressful situations. Snipers utilize this kind of breathing, not specifically in the way that we're talking about today, but in order to help them, reduce their heart rate, calm themselves down, and put themselves in a really smooth and flow state for their shot. So having said that, let's jump straight into it. Now, the whole idea behind the deliberate breath is, as you guessed it again, it's breathing on purpose. It's breathing for a purpose, breathing for a reason. We all know that coming back to our breath is one of the best things that we can do to really be present, to really be in that process-oriented focus, to be in the now. Now what we want to do is take it a step further and use that breath to help us, bring the emotions that we want and get rid of the emotions or thoughts that we don't want. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. And I want you to start off today's topic, today's workout, by writing down the unhelpful thoughts or feelings that you want to get rid of in the middle of your training, in the middle of performances. And I want you to think about what might be happening on race day here. Some of the unhelpful feelings that might be an example is anxiety or comparisons, or that feeling of pressure, or that unhelpful kind of feeling of nervousness that might come. If you want to get rid of those things, you can. Now, that's all beforehand. What about if we're inside the competition? Well, some of those unhelpful feelings or thoughts might come with regard to the pain that you're feeling, or the fatigue that you're feeling, or that feeling of giving up, or that weakness that might that will come. And I'm going to say it right now, that weakness or that feeling of weakness will come. It's what you do about it, and you can utilize this deliberate breath. But I want you to focus in on 6 specific items that you really just don't want when you're going through a race, when you're going through training, making sure that we're kind of really identifying the feelings, the emotions, those thoughts that you might get, within these events. Once you do that, now that we've become a little bit more identified with those, we become a little bit more aware of what those unhelpful things are, let's figure out what we want to put our feelings on, what we want rather than what we don't want. We talked about unhelpful feelings, so let's talk about what the helpful stuff is. When it comes to unhelpful or helpful feelings or thoughts, what might they be? Now, you can put those green or those yellow thoughts that we talked about last week in here, but I also want you to expand your thought process to include emotions and or feelings. Do you want confidence? Do you want calmness? Do you want present moment focus? Do you want mindfulness? Do you want focus? Do you want motivation? Do you want, there's so many different things that you could think about in terms of emotion. Everybody's going to be different. And yeah, you might look at that entire list and say, well, I want all those. Well, but the fact is that you might already have a bunch of those that you don't necessarily need in those moments. You do want to identify and find out, the specific emotions, those thoughts, those feelings that you specifically need for you. Everybody's going to be different again, and it might be based on, those unhelpful thoughts or feelings. The whole purpose, and I know we're talking about breathing here, and why the heck are we talking about emotions or thoughts and feelings? Well, the whole point of all of this is not only being aware of the unhelpful stuff, but doing something about it. We want to make sure that we're taking those unhelpful, thoughts, feelings, emotions, and that we're driving them away. And we do that by utilizing the exhale in the deliberate breath. Now, the deliberate breath model, and I need you to focus really quick here, is about 2-6-2-5. It goes in a sequence of 2-6-2-5. Again, 2-6-2-5. What that is all about is a 2-second exhale, right? We get rid of all the air in our lungs, in our stomachs, and we get rid of it. We inhale for 6 seconds, we hold our breath on top for 2, and then we exhale for 5 seconds. That's the basic sequence, 2-6-2-5, and we can utilize it on the bike, inside of a run if needs be. We can speed it up, when we're in a really high effort level or whatever that might look like, but we can still utilize this idea of on the exhale, we're getting rid of the things that we don't want. We're getting rid of emotions that we don't want, of feelings that we don't want, of thoughts we don't want. We're facilitating that getting rid of those things with our breath. And then we're inhaling what we do want. We're inhaling the helpful emotions, those confident feelings, those confident thoughts, those motivating kind of emotions that we want, that we need in order to really succeed in what we're trying to do. On top, we have a 2-second hold, and that's really to set in all of those feelings, all of those emotions that we really want, to really drive them home, making sure that it really set in. And lastly, we have a 5-second exhale. The 5-second exhale is really just to push out any final feelings, any final thoughts that we don't want, as well as to really bring us in to that present moment focus and really help us facilitate that. And that's what it is all about. Now, when I do say that, I do want you to understand when you breathe out and in, I want you to be utilizing your stomach. I want you to use your diaphragm, right? I don't want any of this right? Utilizing chest, because that just is an ineffective breath. And if you know anything about breathing and oxygenation, you'll know that a belly breath is going to give you a lot more oxygenation than a chest breath will. Specifically, a chest breath will actually only oxygenate about a cup of blood per breath, where a full belly breath is going to oxygenate a full liter of blood. And when it comes to oxygen and performance, oxygen is really a king and a core component, a key component to good performance, which is actually one of the positive effects here. But it also puts your mind at a state of being able to control itself because you're getting enough oxygen, because you're getting a good, deep, solid breath that brings in the things that you want and gets rid of the things that you don't want. It gives you a little bit more control, and it's something that I need you to practice. Again, coming back to, you need to flex the mental muscle. You need to start utilizing this technique, and you want to breathe on purpose. So for this next week, whenever you find yourself in a place that is unhelpful, not helpful in any way, shape, or form, in mental thoughts and mental emotional feelings, whatever it might be, I want you to breathe them out. And then I want you to inhale the things that you do want. If you identify any of these unhelpful feelings or thoughts, again, let them go with an exhale, and then inhale things like confidence or motivation, or those those specific thoughts that you identified as green or yellow over this last week. So how are we going to facilitate this training? Well, I developed a log for you.